welcome to Pennies Not Perfection, where we are going to talk today about questions you should ask yourself before you buy something. I have been doing a lot of personal work on impulse spending and sticking to the budget despite wanting to buy certain things I see that I think I would love or as a gift for someone else. Honestly, I love to spend money, but it doesn't really always fit within the budget that we have to set for ourselves to reach our other financial goals. So I created a list for myself of questions I have to ask before I buy anything over a certain amount. We already have a rule in our household that we can't buy anything over a certain amount before asking our spouse, but these are questions to ask myself to see if I even want to bring it up or put it into the budget, because I need to know beforehand that I am committed to buying it. These are questions you can use by yourself or with your spouse to decide if you want to buy something. They can be used for impulse buys, or it can be used for big purchases that you've wanted for a while and aren't sure if it's the right time yet. So without further ado, let's get to the questions and talk about the answers and whether or not that question means you should buy something or not. First question, will it fit within my current budget? This is something that is super important because, as you know, living on a budget is really important to achieving financial success. Most people can't go with a fly by the seat of their pants spending plan because they end up overspending in common categories. And if you're deciding if you want to buy something, you should ask if it will fit within your current budget. Do you have personal money to spend on it? Does it fit within a certain category? Or is it gonna bust your budget for the paycheck or month? If the answer is yes, it will fit within your current budget, then you're one step closer to deciding you should buy the item. If the answer is no, then you might need to rethink it and push it off till later. Next question, will I have to finance it? If you have to finance something, chances are you shouldn't be buying it. A really common area where this happens is things like phones or payment plans at stores. If you can't afford the phone you want at full price and you have to make payments, then you shouldn't get that phone. If the answer is yes, will I have to finance this? The answer is you shouldn't buy it. Question 3, is this a need in my life? Is this purchase based on a need? Is it something that you really actually need, or is it just a want? Is it an impulse buy? This honestly cuts out most of my spending. Do I need that? No. If the answer is no, if it's not based on a need, I tend to put it off, save it in a cart, or just push it off to later until I forget or don't want it anymore. Another one that I constantly struggle with is, am I only interested in this because it's on sale? I'm frugal and I love to get things on sale. I love deals. I love to just tell people I got a dress for $3 or I'm wearing some clothes that were on super sale. I adore shopping on clearance racks. I love everything cheap when it's on sale. However, this desire to always get something on sale sometimes leads me to want things just because they're on sale, not because I need them or even because I really want them that much. So if the answer is yes, I'm only interested because it's on sale, then I don't need to buy it. I just don't. If it's only an interest because it's on sale, then it's not something you should buy. Next is a question that really helps later on in the purchase decision process, and that is, have I looked for the best price yet? This will stop you from making impulse buys and making bad choices that cost more on items you actually want to buy. If the answer is no, you haven't looked for the best price yet, then don't buy it in that moment. Look for the best price, shop around, price compare, and find the best deal for what you're going to buy. Next question, do I already have something like it? If the answer is yes, you probably don't need to buy it. If the answer is no, then maybe it's something you should consider. But if you have things that are very similar or exactly the same, you don't need to buy that item. Put it back and move along. I will say the one time that if you already have something like it is clothing that you love and wear all the time. If you have an item of clothing and you want it in multiple colors because you're gonna wear it over and over again, then that's an okay situation. But for the most part, this is for things that you don't really need and another item can serve the purpose of that item. Next question, can I borrow it from someone else? Borrowing items is okay. I loan stuff out to friends and family all the time. And I've borrowed things from friends and family as well. If you only need something once, you don't need to buy it. You don't need to buy something, especially if you only need it once and you can borrow it from someone you know. Most people have no problem loaning out their things if you're trustworthy and will return it. So instead of immediately going out and buying the thing you need, ask yourself, can I borrow this from someone else? If the answer is yes, go borrow it, don't buy it. If the answer is no, then start looking and price shopping and maybe proceed with purchasing. The next two questions kind of go together. First, how long will it make me happy for? If you're an emotional shopper like me, you might buy things just to get that little hit of dopamine and feel better about a situation that you're currently in. It might not even be about the item that you're purchasing. If this is the case, you should stop and ask yourself, how long will this make me happy for? If it's only gonna make you happy for a night or 5 minutes, then you probably don't need to buy it. But basically, if it'll make you happy for a long time and you'll get a lot of happiness from that item, it's a yes. If it won't make you happy for long and you're shopping or trying to buy something to fill a short-term emotional need and it's not gonna make you happy for very long, the answer is no. And if it's no, you probably don't need to buy it. If it's yes, maybe consider it. Buying things to make yourself happy long-term is okay. It's great, actually. But you have to really consider if it's actually for your long-term happiness or if it's just to fill a quick emotional need. Next, will I use it long-term? Is this gonna get one use and be put away, or is it gonna be something you use over and over again? Will I use it long-term? Yes. Then the answer is, hey, maybe buy it. I think you might want it. If the answer is no to will I use it long-term, then you probably don't need to buy it. You might wanna consider borrowing or renting or figuring out a way to fulfill the item without actually buying it. Next question is, how many hours do I have to work for it? So you probably have an hourly rate at your job. When you're considering whether or not to purchase something, you should take the item that you want to buy and take the full price and divide it by the hourly rate that you earn at your job. This will give you the number of hours that you have to work to buy a certain item. If you want that fancy new iPhone and it's gonna take you multiple days of work to get it, is it really worth it for you? On this one, it's definitely a personal choice, but figuring out how many hours you have to work at a job to buy the item can really change how you feel about the purchase decision. So I highly recommend doing this before you purchase something. Next question is, will this create additional expenses? If it's gonna create more expenses long-term or ongoing, then you probably don't wanna buy it. You need to think long and hard about any additional expenses this is gonna bring into your life. Let's say you're buying a Cricut machine. You have to think about the fact that it's $10 a month to use their service online. Things like that aren't necessarily advertised in the price, but they are ongoing expenses. So before you buy something, you need to look at the long-term ongoing expenses. Last question, and this question is very important, especially if you're in debt and trying to consider whether or not you should buy something. Can I delay this purchase for 30 days? This is the golden time period to delay a purchase because in 30 days, you might not want it anymore. I do this with a lot of my online shopping because I can get very impulsive and put a ton of stuff into my cart. So I'll always put it in and get that little feeling of happiness and then save it for later, move it out of my cart so I don't actually buy it, save it for later, and then I wait 30 days. Half of the time, actually almost all the time, I don't want it anymore in 30 days. It was something that felt good at the time, but if I'd actually bought it, I would have regretted it and returned it. So if you're thinking about buying something and you can't decide one way or the other, save it for 30 days, come back, revisit it, go through these questions again, and figure out if it's actually something you want to buy. Will this purchase contribute to my financial stress? That's a hard question for a lot of items, but it's very important to ask yourself. Is this going to be something that contributes to financial stress? That means if it's something you can't afford with cash that's in your account, you don't need to buy it. If the answer is yes, it's going to cause financial stress because you have to finance it, don't buy it. If the answer is no, it's not going to stress you out, it's not going to cause any additional expenses or stress, then hey, Maybe it's a purchase. Those are my questions that I ask before I buy something. They are very, very helpful, especially on bigger purchases where I'm going back and forth on whether or not it's worth it. This has totally stopped me from buying several things in the past few months, and it's really helpful to have a framework to just walk through before you're purchasing something. I will have a printable for you in the description box below, so look down there for the link to get the before I buy checklist, and that will just be something you can carry around that you can look through and decide, is it worth it? And maybe a framework that you can run through real quick when you're trying to decide, is this a good purchase or not? If you have any questions that you ask yourself before you buy something that aren't on my list, leave them down below for everyone else to see. It's always helpful to see how other people make their financial choices and decide what they want to buy. A lot of people have really intentional processes to buy things, and especially those who like minimalism, they are very careful about the things they buy and bring into their lives. So let me know if I've missed any really important questions that you use to decide whether or not to buy something. These are just a few of the questions I like to ask myself and things that I've come up with that have kind of stopped me from making poor choices. It's helped me to be more intentional about the things I actually do buy.